Once your job board is set up, you will have access to your job board panel that you see here. A lot of the global or general site settings that you'll have access to will live under sites you see over here on the left. And then if you click under the actions drop down here, you'll click edit site. And you'll see a lot of the site settings that have been added would have been done by the HiringOpps team during your onboarding process. With that onboarding form, you would have filled out like your domain name, any of your emails, your contact information. But again, if you need to edit this at any time, this is where you'll come to edit that. If your contact phone number changes, if your address changes, you'll see all of those settings here. You'll see all of the supported occupations that generally you wouldn't have to touch. But a lot of the sections that you might use are like adding your Google Analytics or Google Tag Manager ID. You can add those here. And then all of these different boxes you see here are sections that you can add global tracking codes. So the main two ones you probably would use would be the header tracking code box or the footer tracking code box. These would be used for any type of tracking, like Facebook tracking, Twitter tracking, Messenger. If you want to add like a Messenger widget to your site where you can chat back and forth, you can add those here. So those are kind of used, globally across the platform. As you keep going down, you'll see the social URLs. Again, the HiringOpps team could have loaded some of these for you during the onboarding process, but if you changed them, added them over time, you can just copy and paste those here. How those appear is when you're looking at your job board, the social links that you add are the ones that show up here under the community section in the footer of your job board. So some other sections or some other settings under this that you might need to use, the favicon logo default OG image. Again, the HiringOpps team likely loaded these for you upon setup, but if at any time you need to change your logo, change anything, you can just find those on your computer and upload those. There's other various settings that you may or may not need to use throughout the platform. Enable resume parsing is one you may want to turn on and off if you don't want to leverage that on your platform. You can also add default email signatures for all of the triggered emails that are being sent out. This section is also where you will set any type of backfill vendor you want to use. So right now the job board supports both ZipRecruiter and Juju. So you would come back here and once you have an API key from either of these vendors, that's when you would set these up. So you would select the vendor that you want to use, set the threshold. That's the number of jobs from the backfill that will appear in search results. And then depending on which one you use, you would add like the API key for ZipRecruiter, or it's called a partner ID for Juju, depending on which one you use. And then you can also add what we have here is a default phrase. So by default, you don't have a lot of control over the backfill jobs that show up on your job board. So if you want to show, just jobs that have the word remote in them, what it'll do is it'll pull the jobs that only have the word remote in the job title or the job description. But again, it's keyword based, so it's going to be searching the entire job for that specific keyword. Some of the other site settings, if you are on a HiringOpps plan that does have an InterviewOpps integration with the video interview platform, this is where those setup steps would be done. Those are generally done by the HiringOpps team once those are set up, so you wouldn't usually have to touch that yourself. But there are additional settings that you can move around and change around if you need to. So when in doubt, if there is a global setting you need to change, generally we recommend starting with the site settings page.